Well, good morning everybody. Thanks for joining me again. Today's vlog is going to be just for you photographers. I've come out with just one mission, and that's to take some photographs of Shoalstone Pool. Now you can see there's quite a stiff easterly wind coming in, and it's high tide. It's roughly 8 o'clock in the morning. Sun's just up, and we can see what we can make of this. I've taken some minimalist shots of the corner of the pool here before in much calmer weather, and I'll put those up so you can see. So I took this photograph during the storms last year, and you can see part of the railing is missing at the end of the pool. As you can see, I've tried to make it into a very minimalist photograph. It's overexposed, and I've made sure that they're into the mist in the distance. And with this next photograph, I've tried to make more of a leading line of the railing leading away into the distance. And as you can see, I've not overexposed this so much. So today's mission is to see what I can make of these rough conditions and see if I can make a nice arty-farty shot of this. Well, the first thing to do is find the composition. As you can see, it's very rough, so I can't get too close. So let's have a look around and see where I can get a good shot. So I moved back slightly so I could get the whole corner of the pool in, but first I needed some filters. So to start with, I've put a 10-stop ND filter on, which will allow me a longer shutter speed and hopefully blur out all those crashing waves. And then a circular polariser so that I can adjust the reflections on the water. So from there, I'm trying a 30-second exposure. And this is the shot I ended up with. I have turned it into a black and white image, but apart from that, I've not done much else to it. But what I wanted to do was this. So I've taken the image into GIMP, which is some post-processing free software, and I've made this mirror image. I'm using my 16 to 50mm Sony lens, and I'm zoomed in at about 38mm at f8 because I'm not too worried about having a really deep depth of field. ISO 100, and as I said, these are at 30-second exposure. It's blurred out all the waves, but the biggest problem I had was the wind, which was giving a little bit of vibration in the tripod. And if you look closely, the railings aren't as sharp as I would have liked. It's a shot I will try again, but I'm not too disappointed with this one. So I'm not going to go into the detail of how I made this mirror image. There's loads of videos on YouTube that will show you how to do this, whether you use GIMP or Photoshop or any other software. But a few things just to note. I've got quite a flat exposure across this image. Where you're going to join the two images, you don't want a dark line or differences in colour. And you'll note that the railing right in the middle of this shot, it's actually made up from half a railing from each of the shots. So you've got to match them up very carefully and keep everything nice and evenly spaced. So in the end, I do quite like the image, but there's lots of room for improvement. I could have made a much longer exposure and smoothed out the image, got rid of all the texture in the waves, It could have been sharper, there could have been a bit more contrast between the railings and the water, but not bad as a first attempt on a very windy day. And as I said, I'll go back and try again. Well, as you can see, to stop the camera shake, I decided to hide behind the wall of the pool. So let's talk about setup. So aperture wise, I'm still at f8. Not too worried about the depth of field, f8 will be plenty. I'm at ISO 100. I'm zoomed in at 55mm. And again, I've still got the 10 stop ND filter on and a polariser, which is allowing me an exposure of 30 seconds. Just adjust the focus and see what we get. Unfortunately, as before, there was still some camera shake, so the railings aren't as sharp as I would have liked. Again, I've made it a black and white. I've made this into another mirror image, and I tried a couple of different compositions with the railings on the outside, but I think it works better with them running through the middle of the shot, giving you that leading line. With the waves, they could have been a bit smoother, and I could have had a longer exposure again. And as I said, you can see the railings, particularly in the foreground, are quite blurred. Although it does lead your eye into the background a bit where there's a sharper image. Looking closer, those railings in the back of the image don't look too bad at all. One thing I might change is where I've joined the railings together, because there was not a railing right in the centre where I wanted it. I've had to just join, as you see with that slight V shape. Doesn't really work for me, but it does give you the spacing between the railings on either side, which gives a more balanced image. And again, in the end, I quite like the image. Could have been more minimalist by having a more flat colour to it. Too much grey in this, and the two lines on either side I don't quite like. I could have done more manipulation in post-processing, but as I say, there's always another day. So this is where it started to get really difficult. I'd come up above the pool onto the pathway, and I wanted to get another shot of the corner and try to make another mirror image, but as you can see, it was so windy I'd resorted to actually holding the tripod still, which in hindsight wasn't going to work. As you can see, quite a nice shot, and you can see some movement in the waves this time because I'd had to reduce the shutter speed down to 10 seconds. I knew I wouldn't be able to hold the tripod for 30 seconds. So in the end, I had to abandon it. Well, I think I'm going to call it a day. Conditions are getting really rough now. Camera's getting covered in spray, and as you can see, it's getting too dangerous to get too near the pool. So, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, join me again next week. But for now, cheerio.